Elon Musk tweets about 1,500 times a day. He is constantly whining, he is constantly complaining, of course, constantly posting. And it's not just Democrats who have had enough of all the nonsense that Elon says, but it's Republicans and those in Donald Trump's own White House realizing just how much he is screwing them over. So in a shocking report, we just learned that Elon is actively being told to shut up. And we are going to get into the explosive meeting that led to that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, of course, there are a lot of things that Elon Musk says and does that are so destructive to the unpopularity, which is quickly growing, of the Trump administration. But the worst of them all was probably this clip right here.
Well, I mean, the government's one big pyramid scheme, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, you can tell me better than anybody.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Right, explain that.
Oh, so, well, people pay into Social Security, and the money goes out of Social Security immediately, but the obligation for Social Security is your entire retirement career. So you're paying you're paying. Like if you look at the future obligations of Social Security, it far exceeds the tax revenue. Far. Have you ever looked at the debt clock?
Yes.
Okay. There's our present day debt, but then there's our future obligations. So when you look at the future obligations of Social Security, the actual national debt is like double what people think it is because of the future obligations. So basically people are living way longer than expected. And there are fewer babies being born. So you have more people who are retired and that live for a long time and get retirement payments. So the future obligations. So however bad the financial situation is right now for the federal government, it will be much worse in the future.
Now that clip is obviously insane because Elon Musk is calling probably the most successful government program in American history in Social Security a Ponzi scheme, but it's also two super rich guys saying that they should get rid of a program because it doesn't help them. Rogan is worth $200 million, Elon $200 billion. Of course they're not going to care about Social Security. It's just like Howard Lutnick, who's worth $2 billion, saying that his grandmother or his mom or mother-in-law or whoever it was wouldn't care if she didn't get her Social Security. Well, yeah, that's probably how you feel if you're rich, but that's not the case for other people, which is exactly why Greg Cocchiarella called out this point right here.
Richard, you should be paying taxes to improve your life, not to make some billionaire buy their 10th jet.
To be fair, I don't think many of your Republican colleagues have any interest in touching Social Security, but I want to keep moving on here. Your colleague Ro Khanna.
But to be fair, President Trump and Elon Musk just announced that they are closing Social Security offices and going to ask seniors and people with disabilities to go check in person at Social Security offices that they've closed. And in rural areas or really suburban areas, that may be really hard to do. And then they'll call those Social Security recipients, quote, fraudsters, and cut off their benefits. That's what they've announced. And Commerce Secretary, who's a billionaire himself, just said on television, oh, if my grandma misses a Social Security check, I think he said my mother-in-law misses a Social Security check, she won't complain. Well,
but you're on the DOGE subcommittee, though, right? So
Elon gets more money from the government than anyone, and he thinks the $65 a day that seniors get, which they paid into for their entire lives, is the problem. Elon Musk is just completely separated from reality, and it is a failure on our party's behalf if we do not call it out every day, which is why I was so glad to see Greg Cocchiarella out with AOC and Bernie Sanders in Arizona, calling out Elon, calling out Trump, calling out MAGA. We have to continue to push this because it's making them panic. It's not just Democrats who recognize that this is an awful and destructive administration, but Republicans see the public pressure that they're starting to get, and it's the reason Elon was finally told to shut up, as we can see in this article right here. Trump allies beg White House to get Musk to shut up about Social Security. Allies of Donald Trump and the Republican Party on Wall Street and in corporate boardrooms have asked the White House to put a stop to Elon Musk's proclamations on Social Security, according to an NBC report. One Trump advisor told the broadcast network that Musk's claims about entitlement programs had caused outside concern. Musk, the leader of the cost-cutting, quote-unquote, tax force, the Department of Government Efficiency, has spent weeks spreading falsehoods and unsubstantiated assertions about the benefits program, which he dubbed the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time, in an interview with podcaster Joe Rogan last month. In an interview with Fox Business on March 10th, Musk claimed that there is $500 billion to $700 billion in fraudulent or wasteful spending on entitlements. There's no evidence to support this claim, and as Forbes noted, that would represent nearly a third of the $1.5 trillion Social Security paid out last year and approximately 20% of the amount spent on Social Security and Medicaid combined. Trump, meanwhile, has repeatedly vowed not to touch Social Security, something the White House reiterated in a statement the day after Musk's Fox appearance. The Trump administration will not cut Social Security, Medicaid, or Medicare benefits. That's a lie. A second Trump White House official told NBC News they understood people could be concerned if they hear something on the news that Elon Musk is saying, that we should do something with Social Security, but claimed Musk's opinions about Social Security don't weigh on Trump's pledge to protect the program. An unidentified Republican congressperson told NBC they wished, rather than the DOJ leader attacking the credibility of entitlement programs, that the White House would make a measured case for reform. The last thing we need to talk about is disparaging the system. It's not a Ponzi scheme. It's just an entitlement program that needs to be reformed. The congressperson said they were unaware of calls to the White House to reel in Musk's public attacks on the popular retirement and disability program. Musk's DOJ, which has swung in unsparing acts at multiple government departments and agencies in pursuit of cuts that its leader has said could reach a combined $2 trillion, has begun to train its attention on Social Security, announcing plans to lay off thousands of jobs at its administrator agency and shut down dozens of Social Security offices. So Donald Trump is getting calls outside and inside the White House with one specific meeting in which they all came together and realized that, it would be best that Elon Musk shut up. And we know this. It's why Democrats have focused on him. It is why, from the beginning of this administration, I said that we need to be calling out Elon Musk, pointing out the corruption that he represents, not in just the Trump administration right now, but in politics more broadly, and how Democrats can capitalize on this as an example of how we want to break away from this corruption. We want to get dark money out of politics, and we want to stop the billionaire takeover of our government. And of course, it's not just Elon Musk. Donald Trump's cabinet is littered with billionaires like Howard Lutnick, who Rachel Maddow called out in a conversation about his attack on Social Security right here.
Howard Lutnick, Wall Street titan, Trump cabinet member, saying that his mother-in-law wouldn't call and complain. She'd just wait until next month, see if her check came then. Anybody complaining about not getting a check is obviously a criminal. How does that comport with what you understand of the reality of getting a Social Security check? And who in your life you know gets a Social Security check? Mr. Lutnick went on to say that anybody like Elon Musk, who had been inside a payment system like PayPal, quote, knows the easiest way to find the fraudster is to stop payments and listen, because whoever screams is the one stealing. This is not like a random podcaster dude. This is cabinet official in the Trump administration while they are devastating Social Security. Yeah, maybe it gets easier if you hear it again. Here's one more time.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up, and she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining. And if all the guys who did PayPal, like Elon knows this by heart, right? Anybody who's been in the payment system and the process system knows the easiest way to find the fraudster is to stop payments and listen.
Yeah.
Because whoever screams is the one stealing.
He's talking about Social Security checks to elderly and disabled people. Stop the payments and listen. Whoever screams, that's the one stealing. Try seeing that through the eyes of people, even just people in the news. Maybe you can't imagine real human beings that you've met right? But try seeing it through the eyes of people in the news whose Social Security checks have, for one reason or another, been cut off, and who are not the mother-in-law of the Commerce Secretary for Donald Trump. For instance, take Ned Johnson of Seattle. You might have seen his story going around this week after it was written up in the Seattle Times. Ned Johnson was very mistakenly declared deceased by the Social Security Administration. It was just a mistake. He is not dead. There's the headline in the Seattle Times. Here's a, quote, dead person on Social Security in Seattle with plenty to say. After this mistaken classification, the bank then deducted $5,201 in Social Security deposits from his family bank account. Mr. Johnson is 82 years old. He spent nearly 3 weeks on the phone, followed by 4 hours in person before he could straighten it out. And even though he himself could handle the interruption in his Social Security check, Mr. Johnson said he understood what could be at stake for other people. He said, quote, when I was in that line, I was thinking that if I was living solely off Social Security, I could be close to dumpster diving about now. Or consider James McCaffrey of Oklahoma City. His benefits were also cut off by mistake. And even though he, too, financially could handle the interruption, he says he understood that for other people, this would be a severe crisis.
You interrupt that for 7 days, 2 weeks, or even longer, and they're in bad trouble. They could be out of a house. They could be out of food. I don't know.
It ought to be obvious, right? The right way to approach the needs and expectations and earned income, of millions of retired and disabled people, right? They have good reason now to be worried about their checks, not least because, the administration is hacking away at government on a daily basis. No one should need to spell out for you, right? At least what you ought to say and not to say. But here's Howard Lutnick saying, these people don't really need that money. If any of them complain when we cut it off, which we should, then you know they're criminals. This should haunt the Trump administration, and it may already be starting to.
This issue is an obvious winner and is how we need to direct our focus, and not just stopping Elon's attack on Social Security, but talking about how we can expand the program, that billionaires should be paying more into Social Security because they're billionaires. Obviously, they should be. It's not just about protecting the program for Democrats. We have to talk about bettering it as well. That is what we are going to do on this channel every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And I also want to say thank you so much for 700,000 subscribers. It really means a lot. And until next time, I'll see you soon.